you definitely touched on an interesting point, because I don't always, like, I network for my industry and so forth, and I know, the lunch dates, the coffee dates, whatever, but yeah, that could be a bit challenging if someone's trying to do something, one-on-one with you, and you're like, oh, what are people thinking? But, definitely some fresh insights, because I think too, wearing the producer hat, you're pitching the stories. You're telling the people that you work with, whether they're on air or not, making the ones that are making the decisions. You're saying, hey, this is a great story. And if you can't even get your foot in the door with that actually poses some challenges to how you do your job.
And I don't think it's just a broadcasting thing or a media thing. I think it's women in general, how we are pursuing our careers, because I think times are changing. 20, 30 years ago, women weren't in the same position us as women are in now, and we're raised to not raise hell, if that makes any sense. We're raised, if a man is assertive, he is confident. If a woman is assertive, she's a bitch.
Oh, she's bossy.
She's bossy. She's a bitch. She's PMSing. She's having hormone problems.
This is so weird.
It's really, really unfortunate, and and I didn't realize this until I got into a professional industry. Again, not just media. This is any professional office setting or. It amazes me that I see it all the time. I see how the guys are with the male bosses, and I see how us women are with our bosses, and it's two completely different things. It's not our fault. It's just the way we've been raised. It's a society in general tells us not to walk into our boss's office and say, I demand a raise because I did this, and this, and I deserve this raise, even if they don't deserve it. Even if they don't, but a woman
to walk in and do that
will
is
walk
perceived
in
differently.
Yeah, completely differently. And if you are a woman and you do pull that off, that's amazing, because most women can't even get to that step. I remember reading a book once how if you're sitting in a press room or a press conference or something, or you're pitching ideas, a man will say, this is my idea and this is why I think it's good. A woman will say, okay guys, I have this idea, and you may think it's kind of stupid, but if you do, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But this is what I think we could maybe potentially do.
We're apologizing, and we're kind of editing what we really want to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's challenging, and I know, as I said, we've made some steps, but I think you're right. We still have some more room to go. You're also a big hockey fan. And there has been talk about hopefully having the first female NHL coach. We've seen in the States with Becky Hammond, the first assistant coach for the Spurs, first female assistant coach for the Spurs, full-time coach. Do you think this could transfer over to other leagues, maybe even the NHL?
I don't think we'll ever see a woman in the NHL, coaching the NHL. And I only say that because women play a different kind of hockey than men. How can you have a woman in charge of a men's team when she's never played on a men's team? It's a different game, because there's just solely because of the hitting and the speed. I can see a woman becoming a major league pitcher one day, and they're going to make Fox is coming out with a show actually in September about that. I can totally see that. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon, but that I would see. I don't see,
for some sports maybe, but for other sports not.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is that Canadian hockey player. I think is it Wickenheiser? The one
Hayley Wickenheiser?
Yeah. And I know that she played on a co-ed team in Europe or something like that. So you're specifically saying this person, a female, would have to play in the NHL league to really sort of get the sense of how to coach for. Okay,
I do.
Yeah. And that's honest.
Yeah, I don't see it ever going any other way. I really, really don't. Like I said, I think there are sports where a woman eventually will be able to compete at the same level as a man with a man's team. I don't see a woman ever being able to coach an NHL team. And that has nothing to do with who the woman is or anything. Whether maybe she played Olympic hockey, maybe she has 3 gold medals under her belt and a bunch of world championships. She can't coach a man's team. I don't think we're there. I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime.
It would be nice though if we did.
It would be interesting. It would definitely be interesting.
So obviously there's lots of news in hockey land with PK Subban going to Nashville, and then there was a big implications for the NHL draft. Last season, we didn't see any Canadian teams in the NHL playoffs. Do you think that's going to change next year?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't like to talk statistics when it comes to hockey. I do the hockey show with Liam McGuire, and I like to give my opinion. But I'll tell you this, in my personal opinion, when it comes to Canadian teams, and we'll start with last Wednesday when PK Subban got traded and Taylor Hall was traded, and Steven Stamkos decided he was going to stay. I could talk for hours about what I think of the specific PK trade. I don't agree with it. I can admit, I think a lot of people forget that hockey is not a sport, it's a business when it comes to the NHL, and it was a business decision, or at least that's most
people in the league, that's what it is too,
exactly.
Right? They're
Exactly.
going to work.
I could start telling you, these were stats from PK last year, and these were stats from, what's his name? I'm running a blank because I'm like hot and sweating right now.
That's okay.
Shea Weber.
You can even cut this question if you want.
No, that's okay.
I just wanted to see what you wanted to say.
You can run Shea Weber stats and PK stats, and you know what? Shea Weber is going to come out ahead. But Montreal, and this goes for most Canadian teams, because you want to know how Canadian teams will do next year because of all of them missing the playoffs last year. Canadian teams, I think, aren't as progressive as American teams. I think Canadian teams have been in this so long, most of the teams are mismanaged because they still have the old boys club. It's a bunch of men owing each other favors because they all played together when hockey was a sport about hitting, and it wasn't about speed, it wasn't about skill, it was who was the stronger team and who could, hit the other teammate harder. And I think they need to get over that. And I'm not saying American teams are run by Americans. No, there's obviously a lot of Canadian coaches down in the States, just like there are a lot of Canadian players playing in the NHL teams. But I think, apart from the fact that our dollar is not good right now and our tax system up here is very different, and that won't necessarily completely discourage a player from wanting to come up here, but it helps. I think a Canadian team will be in the playoffs next year. I don't see Montreal succeeding, which is a whole other interview one day.
I was going to say.
I don't see it.
This probably hits home closer to you because you are a Habs fan.
Yeah.
And obviously PK was he was the top player on the team.
I wouldn't say
one of the top players.
And not just on the ice, but in the city. And I think that's what made it so hard for Montreal, is he really was the player everybody loved in the city. French, English, it didn't matter.
He's Montreal's ambassador.
He really was, and he did so many good things for the city. And there's so many rumors about how bad he was in the locker room. And obviously, as fans, we don't see that. We just like to hear him. We like to see him score his goals. We like to see him donate millions of dollars
to the hospital.
Exactly. In the end, and again, like I said, it's a business. Toronto. Yeah, I think they finally turned a new page. I think they have a new era with Austin Matthews going there. I think it's going to get a lot of people more excited. But I also feel like Toronto is finally starting to just really get up there anyways. They have the Raptors. We know what kind of run they went on. They have the Blue Jays. Yeah. We know what kind of run they went on. I think Toronto really is becoming the center of sports in this country, and a lot of other cities can't accept that. Not that it has any difference of what the players do, but I think that mentality is finally starting to change in Toronto. Like I said, I think they've turned the new page. Edmonton, I lived there for a little bit. They traded
Eskimos.
Yeah, seriously. Well, they traded Taylor Hall. I don't know how well. They got rid of him. So maybe things are finally starting to be a little bit managed, a little bit better there. But again, like I said, it's not my department to start talking about management and money and who's the better player and why this team would need a left winger and not a centerman. But I personally think Canadian teams still have the old school mentality. They still have the old boys club running them. I don't think we're ever going to see, I shouldn't say it like that. We're not going to see all the Canadian teams in the playoffs next year. I think we'll see a couple of them. But let's see
how it all goes.
Let's see how it all goes. Let's see how the dollar stands. Let's see how each team gets salary caps. Yeah. It really all depends on that. A lot of people
don't take those little pieces not little pieces, they're big pieces. Exactly. Because it's like these athletes get up and that's their job, right?
Exactly. And people forget that.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I mean, hey, I could talk. Once I start talking,
you're like me.
Everybody says, oh, I never know what I'm going to say. Yeah. And then once you start talking, you're like, wait, I could say this and I could say this.
But I think this was good. We have a lot of meat.
We covered it, yeah.